Introduction. That one moment you ask, why me? You know that moment. Maybe you're still in it. You're lying there, awake but hollow. The room is quiet, but your mind won't stop talking. And somewhere between the silence and the noise, a thought slips in. Why is this happening to me? You don't say it out loud, but it echoes in your body like thunder wrapped in a whisper. Maybe you've lost someone. Maybe the relationship you gave your soul to turned its back. Maybe your health slipped away, or your career collapsed. Or maybe you just woke up one day and felt like a stranger in your own life. You've played strong. You've smiled when it hurt. But deep down, you wonder, is there a reason for all of this? Let me say something you might not be ready to believe yet, but I'll say it anyway. Yes, there is. Everything you went through, every heartbreak, every failure, every lonely night, every unanswered prayer had a purpose. It didn't come to destroy you. It came to reveal you. Part 1. Life doesn't break you, it shapes you. The illusion of perfect timing. We're all raised to believe there's this grand timeline. Graduate by this age, marry by that age. Kids, house, career, travel, spiritual awakening, check, check, check. But life doesn't run on human timelines. It runs on spiritual clocks. And those, they don't tick, they pull, they stretch. They crack you open right when you thought you had it all figured out. You might think you're behind, but you're not late. You're just on a sacred delay. What if your breakdown at 38 was more important than your job promotion at 28? What if the pain you thought was pointless was actually the fire refining you? Let that sink in. Broken crayons, still color. Have you ever held a broken crayon? It doesn't matter how snapped, melted, or worn out it looks. It still creates beauty. You are that crayon. You've been dropped, crushed, bent in half, but you still show up. You still care. You still love, even if your heart's been stitched together more times than you can count. And that's the proof. Not that you're broken, but that you're resilient. Your scars don't make you less. They make you real. The wounds that turn into wisdom. You want to know the real reason you went through all that pain? It wasn't punishment. It was initiation. Every heartbreak taught you something your mind couldn't have learned from a book. It taught you how to stay soft while the world tried to harden you. It taught you how to walk alone without losing your sense of worth. It taught you what not to settle for, what not to tolerate. And slowly, those wounds turned into wisdom, the kind that you carry quietly, the kind that doesn't shout but still saves people just by being around them. Yes, you're someone's peace now, because you earned it the hard way. Karma is not punishment, it's refinement. Let's untangle a big misconception. Karma isn't the universe slapping you back for your past mistakes. It's not revenge, it's realignment. It's the soul's way of saying, hey, you forgot something. Let's go back and get it. Sometimes karma shows up as a repeated pattern, a toxic relationship, a self-sabotaging habit, a fear that won't let go. It's not there to punish you. It's there to wake you up, because until you feel it, deeply, unavoidably, you won't change it. So if life's been repeating certain painful chapters, don't ask, why is this happening to me? Ask instead, what is it trying to teach me? Because every cycle you finally break, that's karma clearing. Part 2, the hidden curriculum of pain, emotional suffering as a teacher. Pain teaches in whispers first. It gently nudges. Something's off, but we ignore it. Because who has time to cry when there are deadlines and dishes and distractions? Then it speaks louder. Anxiety, burnout, exhaustion, emptiness. Still, we numb it, with screens, with substances, with smiles we don't mean. Eventually, it screams, and it doesn't stop screaming until you sit with it, not fight it, not run from it, just sit. Because underneath all that noise, pain has something to say. It says, there's a part of you you've abandoned, and I'm here to bring you back. Why certain people come to hurt you and help you. Some people come into your life as blessings. Others come as mirrors. They poke at wounds you thought you buried. They bring chaos that forces you to find your center. They abandon you so you can stop abandoning yourself. It hurts. God, it hurts. But looking back, you realize something wild. They were your teachers. That betrayal. It showed you where you lacked boundaries. That narcissist. They taught you the cost of ignoring your intuition. That person who ghosted you after everything. They reminded you not to tie your worth to someone else's presence. So no, not everyone is meant to stay, but every soul you meet plays a part in your return to wholeness. Your loneliness wasn't pointless. Solitude isn't always a choice. Sometimes it's a season you're forced into. Friends fade. People you trusted go quiet. The invitations stop. The phone barely rings. And you sit in that silence thinking, what did I do wrong? But what if you didn't do anything wrong? What if that silence was sacred? What if that loneliness was the only way you'd finally hear your own voice again? Because in the quiet, you remembered your dreams. You noticed what truly drained or nourished you. You stopped running toward people just to avoid sitting with yourself. And slowly, you became your own home. The delay you hated was divine protection. Think about the things you begged for, the job, the person, the opportunity, the answer. Now think about where you'd be today if you actually got them. Scary, right? Sometimes the universe blocks what you want. Not because you're unworthy, but because it knows what you don't. Rejection isn't always punishment, it's redirection. That thing you didn't get? It wasn't meant to align with the healed version of you. You're being protected in ways you can't yet understand. But one day you'll look back and whisper, thank you. Part 3. Spiritual growth disguised as chaos. You were being pulled back to go forward. Have you ever pulled an arrow back? The further it stretches backward, the more force it gathers. Not to stay in tension, but to fly forward with power. You are the arrow. And every setback, every delay, every moment you felt like life was pulling you down was actually a buildup of force, not for destruction, for acceleration. The pain wasn't the end, it was the preparation. So if you're in that stretch now, feeling stuck, tight, pulled by things you don't understand, know this, your launch is coming. You're not going backward, you're just loading momentum. Setbacks as sacred redirections. We love linear paths. We want life to be. Step 1, want something. Step 2, work hard. Step 3, get it. But the soul doesn't evolve in straight lines. It evolves in spirals. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. A sudden detour, a breakdown in the middle of a breakthrough. At first, it feels like failure, but if you zoom out, it's something else entirely. A sacred redirection. That job loss, it made you start your own thing. That breakup, it forced you to meet yourself again. That illness, it slowed you down enough to heal the parts of you you kept ignoring. Every time life threw you off course, it was building a better one beneath your feet. The universe speaks through disruption. We pray for peace, but we grow in discomfort. The universe is subtle at first. It sends whispers, leave this, speak up, rest now. But if you ignore the whispers long enough, they become storms. A breakup, a layoff, a health scare, a rock-bottom night when everything you held on to collapses. You'll call it chaos, but later, you'll recognize it as communication. It wasn't just random suffering, it was the universe shaking you awake, because sometimes to get your attention, life has to get loud. Sometimes the breakdown is the breakthrough. There's a moment right before the breakthrough when it all feels like it's falling apart. You're exhausted. You doubt yourself. You question everything you once believed in. You think it's the end. But it's not. It's the beginning, just disguised as a mess. That breakdown wasn't there to destroy you. It was your soul reconfiguring itself. You were shedding old identities, old fears, old attachments, and like a snake shedding its skin, you had to come undone to grow. It's not pretty, it's not polished, but it's real, and it's the moment you actually become you. Part 4. The karma you cleared by surviving. What you survived changed your energy. Let's say it plain, survival is spiritual work. You didn't just go through things, you transmuted them. That betrayal, you alchemized it into self-worth. That grief, you turned it into compassion. That failure, you used it to build character, and your energy, it shifted. People may not know what you went through, but they feel the wisdom in your silence. They feel the calm in your presence. They feel the peace you had to fight for. You're no longer vibrating with fear, you're vibrating with clarity, and clarity is magnetic. Letting go of victimhood and reclaiming the author role, you had every right to stay bitter. You had every reason to blame them, to curse the timing, to shrink into your sadness, but you didn't. Somewhere in the mess, you made a quiet choice to stop letting life happen to you and start creating it through you. You took the pen back. You stopped saying, "Why me?" and started saying, "Watch me." That's when everything changed, because once you shift from victim to author, you don't just survive your story, you rewrite it. How the pain served your dharma. Let's talk about dharma, the path your soul came here to walk. It's not a job, it's not a role, it's a vibration, a calling, a soul imprint. And often, your pain is the GPS pointing you toward it. That childhood wound, it shaped your empathy. That loss, it gave you depth. That toxic relationship, it carved out your self-respect. Every painful experience you lived through, it aligned you with your deeper purpose, because the ones who are called to heal are usually the ones who had to heal first. You were being prepared for a life bigger than you imagined. Here's the truth no one tells you. Preparation feels like punishment. While you're in it, it feels like the universe forgot you. Or worse, like it's testing you for no reason. But what if it was doing the exact opposite? What if it was training you, teaching you to trust your intuition, to protect your peace, to walk away from fake love, to build resilience, to stand alone when necessary? Because the life ahead of you, it's big. And it requires a version of you that doesn't flinch at discomfort, because they've been through hell and made it sacred. Part 5. What you know now was buried in what you lost. The wisdom that could only be born from experience. There are things life teaches you that no book can, no podcast, no lecture, no well-meaning advice from someone who's never bled in the places you've bled. Some truths can only be learned by living them. You now recognize red flags faster. You hear people's silence more clearly than their words. You trust your gut, not because it's trendy, but because it once saved your life. That kind of knowing, it only comes through the fire. You earned it, and now it's yours forever. Empathy, the gift you gained from suffering. Let's talk about your heart for a second. It's different now, isn't it? You don't just sympathize, you feel things. You notice when someone's faking a smile. You can sense emotional pain in others like it's a language only you and a few others speak. That's not a burden, that's your gift. You don't look away from someone else's sadness because you know what it's like to be ignored in yours. You don't judge people's mistakes because you know what it's like to make them out of desperation. Your suffering didn't harden you. It expanded your capacity to love. And in this world, that's a rare, holy thing. What you know about peace. Only the broken know peace isn't just quiet. It's the soft knowing that you're okay now. It's waking up without anxiety in your chest. It's choosing not to react to things that used to steal your whole day. It's realizing you don't need chaos to feel alive anymore. And here's the beautiful contradiction. You had to fall apart to know what true peace feels like. Because when you've tasted the depth of despair, you cherish the lightness of simple moments. A warm cup of tea, a real friend, a morning without dread. You don't take them for granted anymore. That's the gift of your brokenness. It made you present. You became who you needed back then. Remember that version of you from a few years ago, the one crying on the bathroom floor, the one pretending to be fine when everything was collapsing, the one holding on when everyone else let go. You became the person they needed. You learned how to self-soothe. You created your own safety. You became your own rescue mission. You didn't just survive, you evolved. And now, you carry that strength with quiet grace. You don't need to prove it. You embody it. Part 6. Everything was for awakening. What looked like ending was actually beginning. Funny how it works, isn't it? You thought that relationship ending was the worst thing, but it made space for healing. You thought losing that job was a disaster, but it pushed you to do what you actually love. You thought the heartbreak was the final chapter, but it was just the beginning of becoming yourself. The soul doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in discomfort, endings, transitions, and sudden silence. Why? Because that's when you finally listen. And when you listen, you awaken. When you're rejected, you're rerouted. Let's reframe rejection. It's not a verdict, it's a redirection. The universe sees things you can't yet see. That person who didn't choose you, maybe their presence would have delayed your healing. That opportunity you lost, maybe it would have drained your spirit. That door that slammed in your face, maybe there was a better one behind you, quietly waiting. You're not being punished, you're being protected. Sometimes not getting what you want is the greatest kindness you'll only understand later. The people who left were part of the lesson. It hurts, I know. Some of them left without explanation. Some stayed longer than they should have. Some were never really there, even when they were physically present. You mourned them. Not just the person, but the version of yourself you were when you loved them. But here's the deeper truth. They played their part. They reflected what you needed to heal. They triggered what you needed to release. They tested what you needed to protect. And when their role was complete, life moved them. Let them go. They were a chapter, not your whole story. No season of pain is ever wasted. Even the wasted years taught you something. The toxic cycles, the overgiving, the dimming of your light to make others comfortable. None of it was meaningless, because from it you learned boundaries. You discovered the power of no. You figured out what your soul actually needs to thrive. You don't have to glorify the pain, but you can honor it by refusing to let it be wasted. If it taught you something, it served you, and that's enough. Part 7. There is a purpose, even if it's not obvious yet. Trusting the delayed outcome, you're not behind. You're not lost. You're not broken. You're just not at the chapter where everything makes sense yet, and that's okay. Trust the timing of your life, even if you don't yet see the whole picture. The same way clouds eventually part, answers eventually come. Don't rush the clarity. It arrives softly when the soul is ready, and yours is almost there. Every scar has a silent story. Look at your scars, not just the physical ones, but the emotional ones too. They're not signs of weakness. They're souvenirs of survival. Each one says, I've been through something, and I came back wiser. You don't need to explain your scars. They speak in a language only the healed understand. So when someone sees your strength and wonders how you got it, just smile. Because some stories don't need to be told to be felt. What you've learned is what you can now teach. You may not realize this yet, but your journey wasn't just for you. There's someone, maybe many people, who will need what you now carry. Your wisdom, your grace, your story. You don't have to become a guru. Just live your truth out loud. Be the calm in someone's storm. Be the softness in someone's hard season. Be the proof that healing is possible, because it is. And you are. You were never off path. You were learning to walk at all those detours. They were part of the path. You didn't miss your moment. You didn't take the wrong turn. You just took the long road. But maybe the long road had the views, the people, the lessons. Maybe it gave you everything you needed for the journey ahead. You weren't late. You were becoming ready. Part 8. Moving forward with peace in your heart. You don't need to understand everything to be free. Closure is beautiful, but it's not always required. You may never get the apology. You may never understand why they did what they did. You may never know why life unfolded the way it did. And still, you can be free. Because healing doesn't wait for explanation. It waits for permission. Yours. Surrender is not defeat. It's spiritual maturity. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means letting go of control disguised as survival. You stop trying to force outcomes. You stop clinging to timelines. You stop performing for love. And you start resting in trust. That's not weakness. That's the wisdom of someone who's finally tired of carrying everything alone, and who now understands peace is found in letting go, not holding tighter. Gratitude for the journey, even the darkest roads. This part might come with time, or it might be here already. You begin to feel a strange sense of gratitude, not because it was easy, but because it grew you. You thank the endings, the delays, the tears, because without them you'd still be asleep to your own power. Now, you know who you are. That's worth everything. Walking into the future with grace and inner power. You walk differently now, not faster, not louder, just more sure of yourself. You don't chase, you don't beg, you don't betray your intuition. You're not afraid to start again because you know. You've already survived what was meant to break you, and that kind of confidence, it doesn't shout, it radiates. Conclusion, it was all for this. You made it here, not by luck, not by chance, by grace, by grit, by growth. Everything you went through, the chaos, the heartbreak, the loneliness, the transformation, it had a purpose. It shaped you into someone who doesn't just survive, but awakens. Someone who doesn't just live, but lives meaningfully, and maybe, just maybe. It was all for this, the you that you are now, the one who remembers their power, the one who walks in peace, the one who finally knows none of it was wasted.